This is Nicole from HotMod and Grant from Spark, and we are the HotSpark show. And you guys have been stopping by, seeing all these awesome interviews we've been having with industry leaders, with influencers, with huge followings. And today, I'm super pumped to have the VP of Marketing for
Colombia, but the country Colombia.
The country Colombia. And this is Gilberto Salcedo, and he is the VP of Tourism at specifically Pro Colombia. But here's the thing you have to understand about Pro Colombia. They are the preeminent, dominant organization promoting Colombia's beauty, helping Colombia evolve, putting them on the world stage as if they needed it because Colombia is such a phenomenal country. But Pro Colombia has been hustling hard and bringing about the message of the beauty of Colombia. Hopefully we'll talk a little bit about that. But they're going to be putting on or attending Fitur coming up soon. We're going to hear a little bit about that. What I'm nerding out about is the message and how they're really expanding the message of putting the beauty of Colombia first and foremost in front of other people. What are you looking forward to, if anything specific?
Yeah, I want to hear more about this award that they just won, the World Tour Award, and then a little bit like the inner workings of the promotion agency itself.
Because it takes a lot.
Fascinating, right?
It takes a lot to promote a country. So without further ado, let's bring up Gilberto Salcedo and, not that button. I almost hit the cancel button.
Hello.
Forgive me. Here we go. Gilberto, welcome. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Nicole. Thank you, Grant, because this is a great honor to be here with you, and thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So I guess to your question, Nicole, first and foremost, tell us what this award is for Pro Colombia at the World Travel Awards. What was the specific award you guys won?
Well, let me tell you first why the agency Pro Colombia was recognized. I think we have a wonderful team in Pro Colombia. We just closed the 2023 with great results. In fact, Colombia is right now according to Forward Keys, that is an important platform for touristic industry.
Yep.
We are the second country in the world with the best rate of growing in tourism. And at the same time, we are growing 26% if you compare the result of 2023, with if you compare this result with 2022. So
wow.
Right now, this is an agency that is doing a great but also an innovative work. And the World Travel Awards, that are the most important awards in the touristic industry, are recognizing this great job.
It's huge. And, we talk to a lot, nothing as big as what Pro Colombia and Colombia are doing, but we talk to a lot of organizations, and most of them are seeing now a slump. They're not growing as fast because they saw a lot of growth because of COVID, but they're starting to fall off, but you're still growing significantly.
Absolutely. I think the great news is that we are not in the recovery period. We are right now in the. I think it's a very in Colombia that we are
Well, it's impressive, and we've even been corresponding with Catalina. So if Catalina is any evidence of how good your team is, then we know you guys are doing phenomenally. So my first question is about the message. Was Pro Colombia involved in helping curate the message, the new slogan, Colombia, Country of Beauty?
We did all the government job, and we of course touch the private sector to do something that could be powerful and according with what we are doing in the international markets. So yeah, sure, absolutely. I think this new message or this new narrative that we have with the country brand Colombia Co, it's not only a great opportunity to show all the beauty that this country has, but at the same time to show this other face of the beauty. I mean, the diversity, the sustainability, the different experiences beyond sun and beach that you can find here in Colombia. So Yeah, what we are looking forward with this new narrative is exactly that point, is
Mm.
to go directly to the communities, to the diversity. Colombia is the most biodiverse country in the world per square meter. So what we have in the cultural side is just a reflect of this biodiversity.
Wow.
So
I
we
didn't know
have
that.
here in the country more than 100 different indigenous communities. You can find more than 65 different languages in Colombia.
Really?
Yeah, we are number one in birds. We are number one in orchids. Well, among other species and biological assets.
Wow. So how long has the focus been on this new slogan, this new message, the country of beauty? When did that come about?
Well, we started working on this new message maybe on the middle of 2023, just when the new government settled down and start thinking about the new things that want to show, and of course trying to put on the first priority the tourism, because this government especially is talking about tourism not only as a good way to generate new income for the country, but is in the center of the economic transition of Colombia. Because
Interesting.
yeah, because they're thinking to replace all the oil income, all the things associated with carbon and everything, with new green industries as the tourism. So the tourism is right now in the priorities of the government. So this exercise had to be so careful, and of course careful to be powerful and to reach all the objectives that we have for these 4 years of government.
Wow. Okay. See, I didn't realize that tourism was at the center of the transition to align with your green goals. And I think we have a few questions about sustainability, which I'd love to touch on shortly. Um, so you want to take the next question there?
Which one?
The second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, when you were talking, you're talking about, you know, bringing awareness to more than just the beaches. This in turn helps some of those smaller communities get more of that economic growth. Have you seen growth with that, or like more people visiting some of the inner cities and towns that maybe aren't as widely known?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, this message is joined by a commercial strategy that is based on 6 touristic regions that we're showing to the world. So we divided the country in these 6 regions
Okay.
that you can see as 6 different countries, because all
Okay.
the things that you can find there. So this is an invitation not only to come to every one of these regions, but also to repeat the travels to Colombia. At the same time, we are trying to attract some investments. Just like recently we got a new product that is going to be in the Magdalena River, that is the main river that we have in Colombia. We are going to have a luxury river cruise that is going to
Oh.
start operating on November of 2024.
Oh.
With this company, this American company, this Ama Waterways. So, if you ask me how we are impacting these communities, this is a perfect example, because this river cruise is going to start on Cartagena and Barranquilla, that are main cities here in Colombia, but they're going to have a journey through different little towns like Palenque, like Calamar, and among others. So they're going to be part of these itineraries. They're going to be part of these experiences, their products, their handcrafts, everything that they produce in these little towns. So we are going to put these communities on the center of this kind of strategies, and
Interesting.
there's no doubt that we're going to find these results on this kind of experiences.
That's great too, because more people taking more pictures and sharing their experiences, the further that's going to go. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of Americans, Canadians. I'm sure they'll want to have this experience. So that's great.
Well, and to travel the country by boat is, you know, you don't picture, as an outsider, I don't always picture traveling Colombia in any way by boat. It's usually by car, by plane, and then I'm on the coast. And it just adds another dynamic, I guess, a way for someone to picture themselves enjoying Colombia, you
Right.
know? That's huge.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
in terms of sustainability and ESG, you know, what are some of the aspects? I mean, tourism in general is considered a green industry. Is that true or false? I'm not really sure.
No, you have to direct the tourism to be a green industry.
Okay.
Because, in fact, I think part of the debate that we have worldwide is that tourism is contributing to contaminate and with the carbon and everything. But right now, we are directing all the entrepreneurs, the private sector, and of course, the public sector to design experiences that at the same time that you can enjoy some destinations, some experiences, at the same time you can protect our culture, you can protect our environment, and you can protect, of course, the biological assets that we have in Colombia. So, yeah, it's a decision, you know. So, what we have right now in Colombia, it's a portfolio of these kind of experiences, and
Interesting.
it's not philanthropy. You know, this is not because we think that is good. It's right now, if you check, I don't know, some platforms like Expedia or Booking.com, you can find that people, the visitors, the tourists, are looking for this kind of experiences.
Yeah.
90% of the searches that you find in the sustainability brief of Expedia are looking for these sustainability experiences. So
Interesting.
it's no more something that is, if you wanna do you must do it, this
Yeah.
kind of things. And it's part of the business models that you have to incorporate in the touristic companies. So yeah,
Interesting.
right now in Colombia, you can find not only this new boat that I was talking about, but at the same time, you can do safaris. You can go to do bird watching, and this is also a perfect example that we have in Colombia. There's many experiences around the country. As I told you, Colombia is number one in birds, so you can go there. Uh, Sometimes we invite especially this kind of conservation associations
Yeah.
to come to Colombia to do bird watching. They go
Interesting.
to these remote communities start seeing in the tourism industry an opportunity, to work, to provide something, food or lodges or whatever the visitors need. And then you create these kind of virtuous circles,
Yes.
because you start generating income for the communities. At the same time, you allow to enjoy these destinations and enjoy this kind of bird watching. So this is the kind of things that we are promoting
Yeah.
worldwide, and what we want to have in Colombia as a touristic industry.
And so you gave this example of the bird tourism. Is there a specific company that is a good case study of someone who is really achieving some of the sustainability goals that you always direct people to? Can you give us a tangible example of a company that stands out, that
Well,
is doing it
we
well?
have, we have many companies
Okay.
in Colombia that are dedicated to bird watching. But what I have to say, especially with the United States market, is that we are working with this conservancy association, like Audubon, for instance,
Okay.
that they're coming to Colombia. All these members are coming to our country to do this kind of experiences.
Excellent. Excellent. You want to take that one?
Is the coffee tours still popular, or is the bird watching
No, no,
getting
absolutely.
winning the race?
You know that the coffee is kind of one of our main products,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we are recognized worldwide because of the coffee. And of course, we have a lot of tourism experiences related with coffee. You can go to the coffee region that is maybe three or four departments that we have in Colombia, and
Hmm.
you can find there these antiques lodges that were maybe I don't know 3 or 4 decades ago. This kind of farms, coffee farms, and
Mhm.
right now they are hotels, luxury hotels. But at the same time, you can live the whole experience of the coffee. What is the advantage? That is not only coffee. And excuse me if I get back to the bird watching. In this region, especially, you can find these kind of bird watching experiences in all these farms.
Really?
So yeah,
So
it
it's
is
both.
it's
So
so
drink coffee.
biodiverse. It is this
Yes.
region.
Are you a secret bird watcher? Like you seem to really like it.
No, I like it. I like it a lot. But I have to tell you that because this is a kind of a kind of a special product that we have in Colombia. So yeah, and
Yeah.
in the coffee region especially, we can find this kind of experiences. So yeah, we still have it. That's why we divided the country in these six touristic regions,
Yeah.
because there is a lot of things to do. So the invitation is to explore each of those. That is
Yeah.
the Colombian Caribbean. That is more than the Caribbean that you can find in all the region. Why? Because this is not a all-inclusive, model.
Yeah.
What we have here is, uh, of course, you can find five stars hotels and everything,
Sure.
but at the same time, you can have contact with indigenous people that are living in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. That is the biggest mountain in South America. They are
Oh.
kind of guardians there, and we have touristic experiences there. But at the same time, you have more than five national parks in all the Caribbean. You can connect Cartagena, that is, the most known city in the Caribbean, in the Colombian Caribbean.
Yeah.
But you can connect with Barranquilla, that is a huge city, just 1 hour and a half by car.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you can go to Santa Marta and to another national park that is so close to Santa Marta. The
Yeah.
Magdalena River is also in this region. And what I'm trying to tell you is that the diverse of Colombia is huge. And
Yeah.
at the same time, the experiences that we are offering are also huge.
Oh, yeah. Well, when I went to Bogota, I was surprised at how cool it was. And my picture of Colombia was, of course, Colombia Caribbean, right? Like, very humid and
Yeah,
warm. And the friend I stayed with, he's like, well, no, you're talking about Medellin and Santa Marta, and it gets much warmer there. And I was just shocked that I had to wear a coat. It's very diverse country. And I didn't realize, what was the name of the mountain that's the largest mountain in South America, in Colombia? What is that?
Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. You can
Interesting.
see from a national park that is is one of the best beaches that we have in the Colombian Caribbean. That is the Tayrona.
Okay.
While you are in the beach, you can see the snow peak mountain in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. So it's
Wow.
just a great destination.
Now, okay, so real quick, before we jump on to that next question about US based tourists, which I think is where we're going next, a quick question to you. A lot of our viewers want to know, like when we talk to people, they kind of want to know the ins and outs. And without getting into too much detail, how big is the Pro Colombia team?
We have in
Huge.
Bogota and worldwide
Yeah.
more than something close to 400 people.
400 people.
Wow.
We
And it
have
and it takes that, I guess, to message and market a country. And how many of those are in Colombia versus out in the world trying to spread the message of Colombia?
maybe we have 50-50, something like that. We have
Really?
something close to 230 here in Bogota, and the rest of them are in other regions in Colombia
Yeah.
and other markets around the world. We have 23 different offices worldwide
Yeah.
that cover 34 markets. Um,
That is
Yeah.
humongous.
yeah.
That is humongous. And is there an internal Ministry of Tourism within Colombia? Because you seem like you're the de facto Ministry of Tourism for all of Colombia. Am I
No,
mistaken?
no, no. We are just part of the trade and tourism sector. So
Okay.
we have a minister that covers all these topics, and we have a specific vice minister of tourism,
Okay.
and then we have Pro Colombia that is in charge of the international promotion.
That's humongous. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just curious on the size of the organization because I was trying to assess and I was like, these guys are passionate. And then that leads to a last question. I'll let Nicole ask the next question here. How much of your marketing efforts, your messaging efforts, are you doing any internal marketing to Colombians, or is it all global focused?
Yeah, well, there is another institution that is Fontur, that is the tourism fund that is in charge not only to collect all the resources that we use from the public sector in the touristic industry,
Okay.
and at the same time they do the promotion, the internal, the domestic promotion in Colombia. But yes, and there is something else that is so important, that by the first time under this message of the country of beauty, we have like a unified message from the domestic but also from the international view. So we're talking about the country of beauty here in Colombia and in the international markets, and we didn't used to do that.
Okay. It used to be different messages.
Yeah, different message. I don't know why.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But, right now we are working, hand in hand on this purpose.
I like that. I mean, because that gives Colombians like pride of what their country's all about, and it's a big country. I people underestimate how large this country is. I had a friend in my gym here, and she said, "Hey, I'm going to Colombia for 2 weeks," and I had just been to Bogota, and she said, "Where should I go?" And I gave her a few spots, and she created this huge itinerary. And she said, I only got to half of the itinerary because it was so large, and every place I went, I wanted to stay longer. And I was like, yeah, man, it's beautiful that way.
Yeah, that, and in addition, the Colombian people, I think the majority don't know their own country,
Yeah.
because all the past that we have related with the violence and the security issues and everything, we used to travel maybe to the Caribbean, and that's it. Right now, we are discovering also our country, and we are going around Colombia because, of course, we are in another situation right now. We have other country right now in terms of security, and now we can go almost
Yeah.
everywhere.
Anywhere, yeah. And that's the thing I was surprised. Like, it felt more like Madrid than any other Latin American country I'd been to. When I think about Latin, I lived in the Dominican Republic for a short while.
Okay.
And so then when I came to Bogota, I was like, this is different than any other narrative that I've ever heard. And it was very pleasant surprise.
No,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
I have to say though, even, I've lived in Florida. I probably haven't seen like 85% of the country. So we're all kind of
We're all guilty.
Yeah, we're kind of all guilty. You just kind of stay where you're, especially since I'm in Florida. We're in Florida, so it's kind of like hard to leave.
Yeah.
But we did want to. Speaking of, the United States, we have read that there's been an influx of Americans visiting Colombia. What do you think is, improved that growth and has kind of seen that trend? What do you contribute to that?
Well, first of all, I have to tell you that the connectivity between the States and Colombia, it's great. In fact, I think maybe the first market in terms of connectivity is Mexico, and then Canada, and then Colombia.
Okay.
And when we are talking about the distance of these flights, from Miami is 3 hour and a half flight. Maybe from New York is 5 hour, something like that. So sometimes a flight from the east to the west in the States is longer to
It
come
is,
to
definitely.
Colombia from New York or from Miami. We are improving and growing this capacity. So that's a great opportunity to travel to Colombia. And I think what is going to happen is that is going to be better in the future. What I have to tell you also is that from of all these 5.5 million people that is coming to Colombia, 1 million, almost 1 million, is coming from the States. It's the main market. It's almost the 25% of the total share. Um, so that's great. I think they're coming to Colombia looking for different experiences. A huge surprise is that they are not looking for sun and beach here in Colombia.
Yeah.
They're looking for culture, history, big cities like Medellin, like Cartagena, like Bogota. And then, well, I think that the future between the States and Colombia, it's going to be great. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Why don't you take about Fitur and I'll ask about the entrepreneur.
Which one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like you just came back from Vitur. Is that
Mhm.
right? Okay. What was your biggest takeaway from that 2 day? I think it's like 2 day event, right? That you
The
It's
Fitur.
three-day event
okay.
for the professional public. I mean, to the companies and everything, and is also open to the general public for 2 days. So,
Okay.
well, it's a huge event.
Yeah.
It's almost 170 countries there. So it's a hard work, to reach the the differentiation of the other countries.
Hmm.
But I think it was great. First, the first outcome that we reached there is that we duplicate the business that we reach in 2023. Uh,
Wow.
came from $15 million to something close to $30 million. So
Congratulations.
that,
Wow.
thank you. And then, well, under this message of the country of beauty, we of course we were looking to position this message, but at the same time to open new markets. We had through 40 companies that joined this delegation, as I told you, they contact around 35 or 37 different countries. So it's not only Spain, it's not only a part of Europe, it's almost the whole world.
Wow.
So, yeah, what I have to tell you is that Fitur is pretty important. I think these
Yeah.
kind of events are still important for the industry, and we have to complement this kind of channel with, of course, all the digital action that we do to position and to push the business in the different markets.
Excellent. Were there any when you attend events like that, you get to see trends, you get to talk to peers. Is there anything coming up in the world of tourism that you're particularly interested in that you observed at Fitur?
Well, first, I think the searches and the preferences of the visitors are still nature, culture, less agendas. I think that people don't want, this kind of itineraries that you have to do this the first day and the second day. No, this is a new trend that is the slow tourism. So you go to a specific destination and you uh, do the things at your rhythm.
Yeah.
So that's important. The
Mhm.
other thing is in terms of events, I think you can see a huge demand because this segment was, the I think the last in terms of recovery. So there's a lot of demand, and at the same time, all the countries, all the associations, all the companies that are trying to do this kind of events are looking for competitive destinations. I mean, in terms of prices. So yeah, I think in general terms, the nature and the culture are still the products that people are looking for, and in terms of events, prices are leading the searches of the different companies around the world.
Oh yeah, and the prices in Colombia were fantastic. Like you can't
Absolutely.
beat it. So you're getting elite experiences at totally affordable rates. I mean, it's phenomenal. In
Yeah,
fact, if anything, I mean, we know without getting into politics or whatever, the peso is taking a beating. We know that, but I imagine that people in tourism are really helping the economy quite a bit. Being as strong as it is, bringing in dollars, like you said, mainly from largely from America, but many other places. Uh,
absolutely.
yeah. So I have a question, and and I think Catalina alluded that maybe this might be a question for the VP of Investment, but maybe you can answer some of this. Um, like I was saying, I was down in Bogota. She might have shared that I was interviewing entrepreneurs, and it suddenly struck me that, like you said about prices, I'm an entrepreneur. I outsource quite a bit, Bogota is a thriving city. It's well connected. It's very advanced technologically. You have excellent engineers, excellent programmers, a very strong economy from a tech perspective. Are you promoting anything with the entrepreneur tourism? Is that on your radar at all?
Yeah, absolutely. We work with entrepreneurs all the time. In fact, we have an special programs that trying to enhance all the capabilities for this kind of entrepreneurs in terms of internationalization, design of product, marketing. So yeah, absolutely, and it's so important because we need them, and we need to grow. You need entrepreneurs, as you need, hotels or whatever you can mention in terms of infrastructure for the country. So absolutely, it's a fundamental part of our purpose.
Yeah, and I was talking with. Are you familiar with Y Combinator? Have you heard of the Y Combinator? They're a venture capital firm out of California, and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
launch they launch a lot. We have an associate here who worked with the tourism board for Puerto Rico, Discover Puerto Rico,
Mhm, mhm.
and Juan Carlos, and he's a venture capitalist. And I was telling him about our interview, and he said he's worked closely with Y Combinator, and he said Colombia represents the largest number of graduates launching startups out of Y Combinator. I was blown away. I'm sure you're familiar with that, but I was shocked to go, I didn't realize that about Colombia. He said your country, Colombia, is putting out so many good tech entrepreneurs that it can't be ignored anymore. And
No,
so
no.
I'm definitely impressed with
Yeah,
that.
they are part of our ecosystems, our ecosystem. So yeah, and we are absolutely aware of that, and we, as I told you, are trying to launch different programs, to direct all this effort, of course, to the touristic industry.
Excellent. So, personal question. I got a personal question. When you vacation in Colombia, where do you vacation?
Well, many places, that
Okay.
I have to mix my personal life with with work.
Yeah.
So but well, I can tell you recently of one of my favorite destinations here in Colombia, that is in the middle of the Amazonia Orinoquia. It's a Guaviare.
What about it?
It's a magical destination. You can find maybe in a radius of 20 kilometers or something like that, the pink dolphins in in
Yeah.
their own lake, and you can go there and be with them and live the experience. And it's not Disney, it's in the middle of the nature.
Yeah.
You can find these indigenous pictures that has more than 14,000 years old. This kind of pictures, you can have contact with indigenous people. Well, I love the nature, so this destination was, like a huge discovery.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that it's not for everyone,
Sure.
but right there you can find good accommodation, good lodges, but at the same time, the best and the most magical experiences that you can have with nature here in Colombia.
That's excellent.
You know what we haven't hit on
What?
is food.
Oh, we haven't talked about food. So you got a question about food?
Well, yeah, I mean, is that part of the marketing and appeal, the foodie culture that's really strong here? Do you find a lot of people come there to get for the food, like for certain?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, and it's good that we talk about it because Colombia, as a consequence, of course, of the diversity and all this biodiversity, there's a lot of ingredients, ways to do, the different dishes, different influences of, Afro-Colombian people, indigenous, uh, Spanish culture. So here in Colombia, you can find a variety of dishes, almost one in every city or every town that you go, and you find here in Colombia. So yeah, absolutely, the gastronomy here is so good. It's so different if you are in the Caribbean or in the south or in the north. So yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's not just Bogota high end, like everywhere has its own dish and its own flavor.
Yeah,
So if we
absolutely.
were to go to, say, for example, Santa Marta, and again, that's on my dream list. It looks beautiful there. I want to check it out. What should I be looking for there? Like, what are they known for, food wise?
Okay, well, you of course all the food that is connected with the sea, you
Okay.
know,
Yep.
with indigenous people, because at the same time, as I told you, it's so special this place because Santa Marta is just in the coastline.
Mhm.
But if you just see behind, you're gonna find this mountain that I was talking about. So you have a variety of climates. You have different people, like urban people, but at the same time indigenous people,
Yeah.
Afro-Colombian people. So here is one of those places that you can find a lot of dishes, a lot of influences, a lot of diversity in the food
Mm,
that you can find there. But
mm.
it's always connected with the sea. So if
Yeah.
you love the shrimps, or you're gonna find different ways to eat it.
Excellent. Well, parting thoughts. As you encounter people, as you travel and they discover what you do, you're on an airplane, you meet someone and you tell them what you do. What's the main thought you want to leave them with as you're on your mission to promote Colombia? What's the main thought you always leave people with?
Well, I think that if you want to have a good place to have different and so different experiences, but in the same place, uh, to have this kind of deep experiences. But we're not also talking about to put on a page and that's it. But if you want to have contact with the communities,
Mm,
with the good gastronomy, with
mm,
the jungle, if you want to know something, well, you just have to take a flight from Bogota to get to Guaviare,
mhm.
a 45-minute flight. And you're going to be in the middle of the jungle with all these experiences that I was talking about. But at the same time, if you want to go deep in the Afro-Colombian culture, in
Mm,
the Pacific, in Cali, one of the most biodiverse regions in the world,
mm,
well, uh, I think our main asset is the diversity. This is a diverse country, and
mm,
at the same time, you are going to have a diverse portfolio of
mm.
experiences.
And
Excellent.
food.
And food and
And food,
gastronomy
yeah.
and
Yeah.
food. Gilberto, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it carving out as much time as you did in your busy schedule promoting this country. We really appreciate it. Where can people follow you? Just Columbia.travel? Is that the website?
Colombia.travel is our international promotion website,
Yeah.
and you're going to find there the different destinations, experiences, and everything that you want to know about Colombia and the
Yeah.
tourism here in our country.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great one.
Bye bye. Thank
Bye
you.
bye. What did you learn?
Well, he was like the nicest guy ever.
He's super nice. And thank you, Catalina. She's just saying thank you there. Really blessed. And I guess I knew Colombia was diverse.
Right. But when he puts it that way, that like
Yeah.
the humidity levels, all the different, I'm sure the mountains and all how that lends to different spices and people. And so
Ingredients.
he really starts to paint that picture and you're like, okay, I get it more.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, again, like I used to only think of, Colombia in terms of Bogota and beaches, literally like what he's
Right.
saying. And then when I thought about food in the region, Peru actually has impressed me over the years of being famous for its mariscos, its ocean foods and stuff.
Yeah.
But I hadn't thought about, like, you're right, these different regions that could source a bunch of different varieties, a bunch of different foods. And then when I visited, obviously, I'm in this city that is technologically, it's a developed country, and surprised by that. And I shouldn't have been. That's very ethnocentric of me. But to show up and go, oh my gosh, this is totally developed, and they have the indigenous peoples and the
Yeah.
diversity. And then he is obviously excited about the birds.
The birds, but what is with these dolphins?
Okay, so I didn't know this about Colombia, but I did know this about the Amazon, that they have these bottlenose dolphins, but because it's the Amazon River,
Okay.
they're almost virtually completely blind. But when they jump out of the river, they're this beautiful pink.
Really?
We can Google them. There's these beautiful pink dolphins, and I didn't realize this section went through this section of the Amazon, which goes through
Okay.
Colombia.
Yeah, that sounds really cool to me. Like that sounds better than going to Discovery Cove at Disney or whatever. And you kind of feel bad for those dolphins. You're like, man, you're working all day, but like to go see them in their one, pink dolphins, but in their element. That's really neat.
And then finally, how much work Catalina, Gilberto, and the 400 plus other people, what do you say, 23 countries, 23 offices around
Right.
the world, just to share the message that, hey, we got a pretty cool country.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge ordeal. So everyone, thank you for stopping by. We hope you learned something about Colombia.
Yes.
Tell us in the comments below. Next week we have Camping World.
Yeah.
Allison from Camping World.
No, I thought we have Elise.
That is, I think, another week out, but we'll double check.
Okay.
We'll post about it. We'll get our ducks in a row. But thank you, Gilberto. Thank you, Pro Colombia, for all that you do for Colombia and for making the time. We know you guys are busy. Watch for the replay, folks. Check us out on LinkedIn Live.
Yep.
Check us on the HotSparkShow.com.
Facebook.
Facebook.
Go live there too.
And we'll see you all next week. Thanks so much.